welcome aboard SCS Didactor, our brand new Dreadnought class ship. Lost in a different universe. In the last episode, we kicked off an interstellar war, we did some subterfuge, we pretended to be a trade guild ship, and infiltrated what seems to be an immensely powerful civilization space to steal one of those brass artifacts that we have been collecting. We opened a wormhole to yet another universe, and now we are trying to get out of a trap. We were lured into this section of the galaxy, thinking that we would find some leads. We're following the debris field that we abandoned the search of last episode. The Didactor is fast, but we just had more pressing concerns. Hard to sort through the interference caused by the debris and dust, but I've caught some unusual gravitational waves. We have a brown dwarf star up ahead. Barely a star. Those shielded components can't be destroyed. And we have the remnants of... it looks like another large ship, like a chariot. This massive cylindrical fragment was once part of a long superstructure. The enigmatic remnant design, catastrophic damage, and centuries of exposure to open space and radiation have erased a great deal of information. Nevertheless, things are clear. This was once a massive habitat structure, probably capable of carrying an entire civilization for extended periods of time, possibly centuries. It was destroyed in a catastrophic explosion of unimaginable scale. There's only a few things to collect. Well, that explains all of the debris. That thing was breaking up, possibly at speed. And it's fallen into orbit around a brown dwarf. Detecting unusual radiation nearby, we have a wreck up ahead. And a strange glowing object. When in doubt, shoot it. That was quite the explosion. That explosion was a result of a collapse of warp flux field. This may not have been a weapon, but some kind of field capacitor. A recent excavation has uncovered a large and until recently sealed portal and deep shaft, but scans of the surrounding rock at the floor of the pit reveal strange deformations extending out for thousands of meters throughout the bedrock. The changes in rock are not like any natural process. It's like their physical geometry has been permanently warped. The definition of playing with fire right here. We can move them slightly and you can bump into them and they don't explode. But if you shoot them, it's catastrophic. And now we're on fire from that. Ah, we're burning up. The ship down to half strength. Whoa, we're down to 10%. Whoa. The shockwave, quite catastrophic. Nearly destroying the ship during some trial and error. This devout wreck has been torn open by an internal explosion despite neutronium reinforced interior bulkheads. Fragments of a personal log are recovered from the command berth. Transportation of the vortex cores has gone slower than planned. Volunteers are enthusiastic but not limitless. Once cores have become unstable, there appears to be a finite limit to... And that's where it ends. Surgical precision here on the core to finish this ship off. Well, there's not much else to say about that. They were dancing with the devil and they blew up. Moving those things. Headed to a blue star on the edge of the nebula. What is going on with these void drag readings? We are slowing right down. We have another star in between us and our target. There's a black hole here. No clear event horizon around the phenomenon despite strong gravitational lensing. Possibly a naked singularity? We'd need closer measurements. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty brave thing to fly near. Just a heads up. Hull stress is borderline at this distance. There may be a very thin line here between studying entropy and becoming it. If the singularity's space-time distortion weren't so compact, the planets in this system would have been shredded by tidal forces. Even so, the team feels a sense of vertigo as their canalith particles eddy under its effect. They hurriedly collect a valuable fragment of neutronium-rich debris. As we fly closer, some funky stuff happens. We're separating from our reality. Always wanted to thrust myself into a black hole and ask the name later. Oh, we're on fire now. That's why you shouldn't put your ship in a random hole. It might start burning, and there might not be any cure for it. The event horizon is perpetually concealed by a time-like curvature. I have no idea what that means. Are you just being perks, or are these real words? Thanks, Lieutenant Triton. You agree with my sentiment here. A novel distraction, but not much that we can do with the black hole. Preliminary analysis of the singularity. I think it's unlikely to be natural. Dr. Rama might have more insight. Okay, well maybe there is a lead on that. The architecture uses an odd mix of fallen empire, late medieval, and early industrial technologies. Some buildings that look old are made of transformative empire material. In one structure there is some stuff. Several artifacts have been removed, but one object left behind is partial text document. According to the oldest creation myths of our ancestors, who referred to themselves as the Arcadians, the gods chose to sacrifice in exchange for passage across the Great Sea to the Promised, perished in the great ice when their sun was cooled. It is my belief that there are scientific truths hidden here in these superstitions, perhaps the truths necessary to save our civilization. Many have observed that descriptions of the portal match the nearby space-time singularity. I discovered compelling proof regarding the nature of the spire. Apparently recorded in a memory crystal, but that is not present. So we have to be on the lookout for a memory crystal that refers to the Arcadians. Now the Arcadians, I'm not sure if that's the name of the fallen empire, or whether that is the remnants. They are a mysterious race that we're sort of picking up information on. The Didactor Dreadnought is much more capable of long-range travel than any of our previous ships. And it looks like we've had devout ships warping in to intercept us. Devout warpers, that confirms it. Forward section of the ship is on fire, but the damage is contained to that section. Our citadel keeping the bridge safe. Our front section design does favour weaponry over armour, so I can't be as direct in a front-on fight as I can be in the Idolator cruiser. The Space Dorito that we built. But the Didactor is rigged for strafing combat, so we can keep strafing left and right, trying to keep our beam weapons on target. I've taken heavy damage to the starboard side of the ship, so I'm trying to present my port side. We need to disengage. Our multi-missiles managing to track down that target while it was warping away. So these guys present a bit of a challenge, just through their sheer mobility. Ooh, taken 2 critical injuries there. 7 of our crewmen are down. Another devout prison. Another successful jailbreak. Lieutenant Kepler wonders if Cygnus Lee chose the wrong vocation. Some of the prisoners report a widespread rumour that the devout have received a gift from the remnants, which has given them new capabilities. They're preparing for a large-scale recruitment drive. A very old stone temple rises out of the jungle mists. Lieutenant Triton reports that a pre-iron civilization flourished here. Scans show the temple is mostly solid rock, but with a large interior chamber behind a small antechamber which is sealed with thick stone slabs. After some careful analysis of the penetrating radar, Lieutenant Glees uses a seismic shockwave and the team opens up the antechamber. They discover it was in fact trapped. Despite the cleverness of the trap's designers, they could not outwit time. Within the final chamber, the team discovers that the builders found an important enough to protect, an altar to a single glowing crystalline shard of pure adamantine. There is no clue as to how a pre-industrial civilization acquired such a treasure. The final system in this chain, in the Green Nebula, there was a trap, and we have more warper ships inbound. Well, we just drained all of our energy. I am not sure what caused that. There should be no issues with overdraw. Can't go anywhere if I blow your warp engine up. Our point defense turrets are amazing at their job. So is the reacquisition of our missiles. Good blast there from the fixed lasers. Fixed plasma turrets, I should say. I always call them lasers. One more damaged craft to go. Chooses to flee. Let's give ourselves a shield of missiles. Take that. Ooh, beautiful. Just riding your missiles into combat. We need a warp engine. Found more systems to discover. Another devout prison. Another successful jailbreak. Triton learns that the devout have been actively trying to recruit volunteers to transport some cargo to a classified location. One of the prisoners, a hostage for a physicist, reveals that whatever the cargo is, it becomes highly unstable. I think we found that cargo. I am beginning to feel like we have found the Devout stronghold. These are by far their best ships. The system was locked behind that dark nebula, which slows down your vessel quite a lot, discouraging us from coming down this far. And we have these warp cores just floating about in space. Like the Devout have been trying to transport them, but they keep losing ships. Dead end. Try again. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and well, I think we're coming into the end. Towards the end of our adventure, surely. We need to be able to get home. But this constellation down in the southwest is quite expansive. A cruiser with Devout markings crashed here very recently, possibly within days. The reactor is still warm, but there are no survivors. Killed instantly before impact. While the ship has suffered some damage, likely from whatever killed the crew, there is a bit of salvage. There's also a data tablet, some kind of key. So there are two separate green nebulae, and we've explored both of them now. Let's have a look at the trinary key. Part 3 of an encryption protocol. We found ourselves a chariot. Wow. This one's not blown up. These are like a ship. The enormous vessel shows signs of activity, what looks like an entry hatch, but we can't get in. It's an intact version of the remnant wreck that we previously encountered, the Talonian chariot. That says mothership, but it just faded from scanner view. Possibly obscured by the star. There might be a big ship here to fight. Okay, warp ship's in. Try and isolate this ship and destroy it before it gets back to its teammates. Oh, he's worried, he's running. Yeah, your warp core is not as strong now, you can't jump far. Those smaller warships don't seem to be any concern. They do drop radiation missiles, so keep that in mind. We have quite a few crew still aboard. Bit of ramming speed. Let's have a look at this mothership. No other hostile craft are approaching us. Devout Dreadnought. I think we might have found their homeworld, boys. Whoa, that's a lot of missiles. Activate the defenses. Look at the size of that ship sitting there. Alright, we have a little bit of ordnance following us. Those battle stations look quite formidable. Let's stay moving. It's trying to provoke this mothership to move away from its defensive escort. Out of the safety net of its battle stations. Our lasers are just cutting through the hull. Just backing up. Let him come to us. There's almost a strong argument for an all-laser ship. Very powerful. But I do like versatile weapon systems. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to find space for a shield generator or a hangar bay, as much as that's going to disappoint some. I did read for the hangar bay, it costs resources to create the fighters, and I dare say the fighters wouldn't last long. We are venting something from our ship. Okay, that is now stopped, thankfully. It's a little bit overwhelming for our point defense. I might even put a third Havoc device on our ship. You have to wait for them to charge up one after the other. Very tough battle station. But our design is very strong against small fighters and missile. We have almost spent the entire store of reactor fuel on this battle station. That's one down. We have another mothership and another battle station to take. This one seems like she's in dry dock and not really responding to our presence. Not combat ready. Oh, it must be in a weakened state. Or we got a very lucky hit on its reactor. The captains of those two capital ships didn't know what hit them. They just were like, huh? Why is the venerator here, man? Oh, man. This machine still has physics attached. Former heretic pyramid now serves as a devout outpost. There are too many devout to overpower. But they are in chaos after the loss of their logistical hub. They're trying to restore communications frantically, but there isn't a command ship anymore. I guarantee you that they're gone. As predicted, some of the devout pay them no mind as we just stroll in, pretending to be one of the initiates. Unsure how long this charade will hold up, Lieutenant Triton picks up a collection of data tablets and runs for the hills. So we have the third key. We have 2 of 3 keys, but I can't find the other key. Oh, there's people here at home. The devout have found us. Previously, all attacks have been the Red Raiders, and we haven't been concerned with those guys. But if the devout know we're here, that is not good. Yeah, we don't care about your missile swarms. We come from Terra, the planet that invented missile swarms. The reactor is dry. The beam laser's intensity sucking the juice right out of the batteries. Despite the stat card saying that our power draw is below what we create. Interesting. There might be some different power usage with different temperature of weapons. Given the increased danger of our mutual enemy the Devout, we are maintaining a continual presence in the sector with the blessing of your Commodore, you. The Devout found an artifact called the Archive Crystal. Where is it? Who are the Arcadians? Tell us. We've been on the same trail as the Devout for some time. The Arcadians appear to be, in many Empire stories, a people who were transported to the afterlife in their mortal form by the remnants or other gods, depending on the account. We previously assumed that they were just a ghost story. Given what you've told us, if someone acquired this object and wished to make a profit, the wise path would be to sell it to the trade guild. So that will be our next stop. It sounds to me like the Arcadians may have been guinea pigs. Glees showed me the data from the Devout lab that was researching gravity waves, and I've simulated the physics model they were working on. It appears they were looking at making a negative gravity generator. We could make something like that. Although I'm not sure what they wanted it for. It might be useful for clearing debris and mines, but it's no super weapon. The Commodore. It would have been difficult to anticipate that the Devout message the Alethea picked up was a trick, since it was transmitted on a tight beam. They must have known. Fortunately, they were caught off guard by our improvements to our fleet, as well as the Goryer's assistance. Otherwise, we might not have been here when you got back. The Devout have recently started directing a great deal more effort towards stopping Venerator. There's no point in Venerator waiting here. If they want to wait until you're gone to attack, they can afford to wait longer than we can. The Devout are clearly afraid that you're going to do something. So let's do what you're doing, but faster. Research the gravity generator for 125. I have just fitted it to the wing at this stage to test it. Whoa, sorry Alethea. We just knocked you out of the star system and we have more Devout arriving. Just in time to sample our gravity wave generator. Oh, we hit them into each other. That's pretty cool. I mean, that would be a good weapon for when you're running away. You could launch a gravity wave behind you. And I have a nice little slot between the engines so that it would fit. Not so effective against a shielded target, but it still does push him. But unshielded, see you later. But yeah, it's not going to stay in that spot. That was just a test spot. I had to replace one of my lasers to put it there. One more to kill. There's our new mode for the Havoc. Very effective. Alright, let's fit the ship up properly. Okay, remnant interface. Typically hard to fathom. Typical of remnant stuff. Uses super cold condensate to maximize cohesion of plasma projectile. We don't really need it, but the gravity generator will now be a rear-facing weapon. Dr. Rama disagrees with Lieutenant Perks's very unscientific title of Immodest Singularity Exposed, but agrees that this universe's modified physics, no celestial body would ever collapse into this state. So yeah, it might be artificial. Based on the data, what could have collapsed into this state is the wormhole created by a star lance. There is very low evidence to this hypothesis, but if the wormhole creation process failed to completely stabilize, it might leave a deformed singularity. In my hypothesis, if it's correct, it means that it might go somewhere, possibly to another universe. But Venerator would be reduced to thermal radiation if it tried. Alright, back to the trade planet. There's always a devout base over the front. Go away. You can move space stations with it too, nice. So we have a go-away gun when we're running away. Alright, so they had the memory crystal. And they've got a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff as well. Hopefully this is the Arcadian crystal we are looking for. Contains a detailed treatise on the elements of Arcadian history. We also have a remnant scroll, and it teaches us some of their language, I think. Casting mold. Withstanding of temperatures higher than we can create. And a fancy bayonet type weapon for an aquatic species that would be better under the water. We've come back to cockroach space. Oh, you had your chance to deliver the message, now you must die. Well, that solved that already. I was wondering if they were going to be hostile, but they've attacked as soon as we've entered the system. We have a mission down here, that's the only reason I came back. Xenophobic races, I tell ya. Actually very squishy. So the design just leaves their core exposed. More bad bugs. They're not averse to ramming you either. But you can just shoot them straight in the reactor. So there's no sign of the lost Trade Guild convoy. That's why we're here. It's one of our only outstanding side objectives. And I have a feeling it will lead to either the key that we're looking for, or perhaps another one of those brass connectors. I just use this to clear every system now. I love it. and they're busy shooting. Oh, they've got missile defense, but it's not going to work. These guys need a lesson in warship design. Let's give them one. Despite all the talk of advanced civilizations, this is the first terraformed world that we've found. And it's divided into little sections. Quite cool. Obviously a bug planet. We don't want to go there, I don't think. Heavily terraformed planet, dedicated hexagonal zones, engineered for specific biological, industrial and agriculture purposes. The Pure Hive's primary world. Oddly, their biology doesn't seem like that it was evolved here. We might find their true home planet. We've got a water world with a starbase above it. Don't shoot it. Like the aphorism, the relatively calm ocean surface belies a depth beyond the range of scanners of at least 20 kilometers. A nearly invisible monomolecular fiber connects the orbiting station to an unknown endpoint below the ocean. Welcome, explorer, to the Abyssar. Our modest trading outpost offers resources and trinkets for trade. We would be delighted to exchange some with you. Who are the Pure Hive? The Pure Hive are an efficient and well-coordinated species, recently become more distrusting of strangers in their space. Before, they would merely threaten, but lately they've started making examples of the wrong sort of visitor intruding into their space. For a while, the wrong sort were these aggressive proselytizers. It's a hypocritical attitude, as they were new to this region a few centuries ago themselves. In any case, they have been terrible for our modest trade business. We met the guild recently. They are in fact the reason for our modest catalogue at the moment. They completely cleared us out of all artifacts. I do blame myself, always pricing items way too low. We have received some items, but as you will see, I have not learned my lesson. Prices are low. We were here first, but we aren't exactly intruders. They have recently suggested that our business might do better elsewhere, which takes an ominous change in policy. Unfortunately, we are not well suited to travel. I'm not even on the station. I'm well below the depths. There is a concern that there may be a turn in aggression towards us. I have further reduced my prices so that you may take advantage of this. A going out of existence sale. Commander's log. The jellyfish species are traders bound to the waters of this planet. They are being pushed out by the Pure Hive species. Commander's log. The Pure Hive primary world is a terraformed planet that may not be their original home world. At a glance, the team identifies the anomaly as a derelict vessel that probably crashed into the surface in a semi-controlled deorbit. Lieutenant Triton confirms this. The ship was one of 2 long-range siege ships from a planet suffering from an environmental catastrophe. Upon reaching the system, its awakened crew, who discovered an abandoned ship with advanced technology. They must have travelled for centuries. It's a grim thought. So we're going to look for the origin world of that siege ship. There are some stars out here in the void alone, not part of the Flinger network. This terrestrial planet doesn't have much to offer in terms of resources, but was flagged by the anomaly sensor due to its high habitability index. A good candidate if we never get home. But I would prefer to try and go home. Off into the void once more. Red star system, 2 planets to explore. A few millennia ago, this planet was home to a nascent space-age civilization. Tragically, this coincided with a catastrophic change in their sun's output, which raised the surface temperature dozens of degrees. From an examination of the ruins, we can see that they tried to get off-world. This control tower continued to track the launch of their siege ship. It appears the survivors found hope in the idea that some members of their species could reach the nearby star system where their primitive telescopes detected a habitable world. The journey would take centuries and relied on some pretty novel technology for them. After reviewing the calculations, Cassie Perks has discovered that their model was off by 0.02%, which compounded over the centuries and would have sent the siege ship right through the target system. So we found the habitable world, and we found where they ended up, and they were two vastly different destinations. A grim end to their race. It seems that the Great Filter claims quite a few civilizations before they even reached the zenith of their power. We found a planet where we needed someone to have tactics, biomed, and observation to pass the trial, and we have nowhere near that skill. I didn't specialize anyone to be a super crewman, so I think that is unachievable for us. A single storage capsule impacted on this high ridge. Given the lack of damage both to the capsule and the surrounding vegetation, it must have deployed via gravitational arrestor. An examination shows that it's a reinforced guild data storage device. The information contained is highly technical nature, detailing tactical telemetry events that occurred shortly before it was jettisoned. Cygnus Lee is able to make some inferences. The originating ship was hailed by an unknown faction. After contact was broken, they raised shields and powered up weapons. Despite defenses, the ship took heavy damage to shields and the reactor, and limped off into the void. So they survived the initial attack and retreated. They tried to reach the gateway, but the Flinger network was blocked. So the ship itself is still lost. So these hive ships have special kinetic armor that lets them reduce collision damage. And we could create that now ourselves. We found an optical pistol. And the thermal device. I think we need this for the mining colony. Yeah, the thermal exchanger is for that mining colony. Let's take it to them. Delivering the heat exchanger to the insect miners. Finally, as agreed, the computer system your friend sold us, and some diberyllium. Oh, ramming attack. We found the crystal. We need to talk to the Alethea, and we need to find the other 3-factor encryption key. Let's see if Dolson can help us with the Arcadian crystal. The basic myth on the Arcadians is that 2 people were chosen by the gods to cross the sea in a pair of great arcs and settle in a promised land, but it was a long journey, and during it, the children of one of the peoples grew tired and wished to return home. They went to the charioteer of the gods and asked him to take them back. He could not disobey his masters, but he could promise to keep them safe and teach them the workings of the ship so they could understand their journey. The children used his teachings to free the captured waves that carried the ship, thinking this would stop them. Instead, it tore the ship apart, and the waves caused the other ship to founder and become lost in a storm. The Telonian called upon his chariot to save as many Arcadians as he could. As Lieutenant Triton noticed, and the Arcadians themselves later believed, this myth was very likely a real event that was incomprehensible to a pre-industrial civilization. I think the most salient point is that the circular flowing lines, which are described as the eye of the wheel of the chariot and the eye of the storm, but we lack complete context to extrapolate the meaning. So the Arcadians were being transported to some destination, removing the gravity beam and putting in another Havoc defense. Right, let's try and beat up some Devout until we find what we're looking for. The key. Our Havoc launcher in offensive mode, launching a swarm of deadly projectiles. Keeping the warp ships on the defensive is the key, I think. We have a swarm of fighters after us. Right, we found it. Just took to kill some more Devout to find it. me about an hour to find that key. And I think it was just RNG, to be honest. So the Devout were trying to transport unstable cores to it. We are able to now get into the celestial artifact. The interior of the vessel is a vast labyrinth of huge corridors. Many sections of the vessel remain sealed, but following the Devout evidence, eventually they find themselves in an area that looks like the central reactor chamber. Everything is dark. I've now realized that the gravity generator is meant to push these things towards the chariot. But I removed the generator, so I'm trying to push... that didn't work. So, yeah, we're going to need the generator. It's not far, there's a wormhole nearby. We've just researched Mark III plasma turrets, so they are going in. It's going to extend our front section a little bit, but hopefully a lot more firepower. And we have to recess the gravity beam inside the hull, otherwise the front lasers overheat. And it turns out that the gravity generator can actually hold items. Or you can fling them. Let's chase after that and make a little bit off with the shot there. Oh no, we collided with it. As the unstable core explodes for several zeptoseconds, what feels like an eternity, the crew of the Venerator find themselves within a space outside space. They're being fused with the fabric of reality. Choosing to harness them instead is probably the better option. It just vanished. All is still dark. The mass increased slightly. Wait, there's an energy spike. Go back. It turned on. The interior is now illuminated by an infinitude of fine glowing lines tracing and winding along every surface of the ship. Lieutenant Triton thinks they look like a language. Glees speculates they're a combination of power and circuitry. We need more, I think. Go for a shot here. Should get it in. Ship ate it. Third core in. I think. There we go. Let's see if that did anything. Nothing happening yet? The team reports finding the ship feeling somehow more alive despite no obvious changes in energy. In the core chamber, everything seems fully charged. There are new lines tracing inward from the cores. Lieutenant Triton recognizes the pattern as nearly identical to the one from the Arcadian archive crystal. There are just a few lines missing, and by tracing their shape, the ship comes to life. And dozens of Devout are swarming towards us. There's a small device mounted nearly flush with the surface. It's almost invisible. Cygnus Lee had the forethought to note multiple paths through the ship and takes the team to safety. Uh-oh. They were hidden inside the ship, waiting for us to complete the hard stuff. And it's warped away, leaving us behind. Let's go home. Super pretty, I know. Got advanced engine. We can now make Mark III engines. Yes. We need to speak to Milton. What I would have given to see the interior of the remnant ship. I mean, this codex shape is great and all, but I want to see more. I've combined the information collected from within the Chariot database. I don't understand all the details yet, but I'm going to have another go. Practically, I think we can construct a very crude warp field generator. Not only did you manage to find an intact remnant vessel, but you summoned it to our doorstep. The Telonian chariot that Lieutenant Glees was able to activate, it just appeared atop the collapsed wormhole before you returned. I assumed it was your doing. Nope. The Devout have it. It's warped very close to us, but it's under Devout control, so that makes me extremely concerned. What could they possibly want it for? Seems to be activating something. We need to destroy its escort though, before we can find out exactly what it's doing. Gravity gun, charging up with all of our weapons, trying to hold it in place. He's dancing on our whim. We have hold of him with the gravity gun. The chariot is focusing a stabilizer beam on the collapsed quantum wormhole. Its energy is highly coherent and revealing some structure we couldn't detect before. The wormhole is still too small to see, but is gradually expanding. Are they opening the wormhole back to our galaxy? Our universe? I think we need to assume that the chariot is at least partially under devout control. Not total control, since they're using their own ships to fight us. We need to let the Commodore know. What are they doing? Are they did talk about a mass conversion event that was going to happen soon. Are they going to go to our universe and convert everyone to their way of thinking? Fat chance of that working on humans. This situation poses an existential threat to Starcom and countless other lives. Once the wormhole is large enough, Venerator and Alethea will evacuate Solano's crew through. I'll command a skeleton crew to trigger the CIE device, closing the wormhole. Commander Chadicus, there is a wrinkle with the current plan. Talk to me ASAP. We need to go back and talk to Milton. Commodore Yu has alerted me to the possibility of using the CIE device as soon as Dolson reported the chariot's position. I've looked at Venerator's logs. The device we built doesn't have enough xenium to overcome the chariot's stabilizer energy. We need 4 more units of xenium, but that's not the real problem. We have no way to store the xenium. We need strange particles, or strange quarks. Where do you find a strange quark in this area? We have never found a natural source of strange matter in our own universe. It might be possible, it might form from degenerate neutron matter. But where would you find that? Let's go ask these guys, they're always a useful font of knowledge. Hail, it's good to see you've made it safely back. The appearance of an intact Telonian chariot is both awesome and terrifying. We have surmised that while it is in communicating with the wormhole from which Solano emerged. Yeah, but it's not in our control, mate. Well, this is calamitous. From what we know, control of the chariots gave the Empire its power, limited only by whatever hidden laws constrained their Telonian servants. One of our vessels sent to assist you was gathering data on their new energy disruptor weapons, and they reported a promising discovery. Unfortunately, in their last partial transmission, they reported their engines had failed. We were hoping that you would offer to find them, of course. So our lead on this Goryeo ship is in the Green Nebula somewhere. Can't gone too far from its last transmission. Let's set up a search grid. Just search this square and then we'll move on to another. Well, there they are. Nice and easy find. We are glad to see the Venerator and not another devout purger. Many of our systems were damaged by mine impact. Without navigation, we're screwed. Here is your connector to your fleet. That it? Don't hang around. We don't need your company. Okay. Didactor is looking for strange matter. Is it just me, or is there an inconsistency in the knowledge the Goryeo are sharing with us? Like the Telonian was practically a myth when we first asked about it, and now they say it was the key to the Empire's power? You're not wrong. I've reviewed the untranslated matrix, and there are patterns consistent with selective truth. I can't say whether this is need-to-know policy or outright deception. It's obvious they are strategically withholding information from us like we are from them. I doubt they'd help us find a collapsar if we explained why we need it. Our plan for survival of our own universe depends on sealing the wormhole with the threat on this side of it. That is a good point, Cygnus Lee. We're not telling them that we're going to trap the devout here with them to subsume them into their empire. So this vessel was studying a collapsed neutron star. But where is it? Where indeed? The only other place to look is a nebula to the northeast. I think that would be the best place to look. We will just clear this sector first. A small city on this temperate planet was abandoned within the past few hundred years, judging from the overgrowth. A search of the structures uncovers several scattered fragmentary texts. Began eye observation. Devout have learned of the reliquary. Bones must be moved. They will seek the heartbeat, perhaps deceived by false echoes. We found the bones to the fallen god. Yeah, we're going to check the nebula after this system. Tens of thousands of years ago, a star nearby went supernova and irradiated this planet in a catastrophe unlike others. It must have been a neutron star. Sterilization of the planet. Contacts on the sensor. We have stalkers. We haven't seen these guys since they picked on the CXTA transports. These guys are saying 111111110. Do you know 111111111? I think you would get along. Commander's log. The stalkers 11111111110 live here. Another older Arcadian settlement. Glee speculates that given material age differences, there is a catalogue of binary identifiers. Is this how we know who we're talking to when we find the robots? The robots are the Arcadians. So the robots are the Arcadians. Another Arcadian settlement, this time with a map. That's the constellation we've been traveling around. It looks like a diamond. I feel like we're very close to solving the mystery of the Arcadians, and from what I gathered, I think they were probably a species that were uplifted to a material form, no longer biological, and then sent somewhere. But they didn't like the idea of that, and they tried to stop it. I've been reading back through the logs, and it seems like the Arcadians lived in a system that the remnants were experimenting on, and it killed their star. And so, they probably used the Star Lance. They were probably using it to open wormholes. And because it killed the star, they had to move the people. Of course, they had to travel a long way, so maybe they uplifted them to a mechanical form. And we are approaching a stalker frigate, which happens to be around a neutron star, which also happens to be suspiciously like the Reaper we fought. It's pushing our ship away, like the Void Disruptor does. There's no time for contact here. The Collapsar is expelling strange matter. If you want to find out what happens, make sure to join us next time in Starcom Unknown Space. I am Commander Tyrael. This is the SCS Didactor, and we will see you in the next episode.